So I'm Larry Schallert. I coordinate the mental health services for College of the Canyons. So we have services at the Valencia campus and here at the Canyon Country campus. So I kind of go back and forth. We have a staff of about 5 or 6, and we also have wellness and medical sorts of things. And we do a lot of wellness outreach sort of things. So one of my jobs, or one of the things I do, is do community organization and outreach sort of things. So Al asked me to come and talk about our suicide prevention, Postvention, and Wellness Committee, and talk a little bit about suicide prevention. As you probably know, it's a pretty big deal here in Santa Clarita. We have a fair amount of suicides, and we're trying to do something about it, and we're trying to do something about how we react as a community. So, you know, what we're talking about is kind of collaborating with you and with anybody else. So we like to do some training and collaborate with our college partners, with our community partners, and linkage and build capacity to deal with the mental health issues we have here in Santa Clarita now. I'm an LCSW. I've been practicing clinical psychotherapy and clinical therapy for like over 30, we're about 40 years now. So, and I worked at Child and Family Center for like 15 years, and now I've been at the college for 5 years. And I live in Canyon Country right over there, up Shadow Pines. I've been here for 30 years. So my kids all grew up here, so I have a very special feeling for Canyon Country. So this is the what I want to talk about is this. This is, we call it the Santa Clarita Valley, and is not right, sorry. Santa Clarita Suicide Prevention, Postvention, and Wellness Committee. We lost the suicide thing here. And I just want to give you a sense of who's in this committee. We meet once a month at the college. So we have the Child and Family Center, which is a contracted mental health agency. They contract with DMH. We have Santa Clarita Mental Health Center, which is on Cinema Drive in Valencia. We have the Department of Mental Health. We have Child and Family Services. We have Regional Center Services, which serves developmentally disabled. We have a lot of faith-based counselors. Grace Baptist is there. Real Life Church is there. NAMI, if anybody knows, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. We have the school districts. William S. Hart is there. And Acton Aqua Dulce, their team is there. The sheriff comes every time. We have Henry Mayo Hospital Behavioral Health Unit. We have the Senior Center, Suzanne Nelson, and Etta Martin is her last name. She's a therapist for a Senior Center. We have Comfort Keepers. We have Sunrise. And we have the media. So the Signal and KHGS is there. And they're not there to report necessarily on what we do in the committee. What they're doing is learning what's going on with suicide and suicide prevention and how to report suicides that happen in Santa Clarita. As you might have noticed, there's been a change. Whenever you see a suicide reported in the media now, you'll see if you're feeling suicidal or you know somebody's feeling, here are the resources. So that's a new thing, and that's a new initiative that we're trying to make sure that instead of exploiting, you might have remembered one time there was somebody like jumping off the bridge, and it was like horrifying. Like they actually showed somebody jumping off the Newhall Bridge. So they've become very, very sensitive to how to report suicide. So it's sensitive for the family members, but also to people that might be thinking about it. So Cougar News is in Santa Clarita. TV is there sometimes, but Cougar News is our local college station. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is there. City of Santa Clarita, All of You Hospital comes sometimes. Probation is usually there. The Santa Clarita Valley Youth Project. Strengths United is there sometimes. They're sexual assault prevention. We could come and do a whole thing on sexual assault prevention that we do here. The Domestic Violence Center, which is now part of Child and Family Center, you may know. And we have private providers that come once in a while. UCLA is there every time now. Kaiser, Providence. We had the library for a while, but they're not coming anymore. Homeless coalitions and guests come, like the last time Al was there. So what we're trying to do is build a community coalition so that whenever there's a suicide, we kind of try to figure out what happened, but we're also trying to prevent suicide. We're trying to train clergy members, train sheriffs, train gatekeepers, train everybody on suicide prevention. And if I have time, I'll do a little mini training so you kind of know what the warning signs are and what you might want to do if you are suicidal yourself, or if you know somebody or you think somebody might be thinking about ending their life. So these are some of the results that we've done. We've done a fair amount of clergy breakfasts. We do faith-based clergy breakfasts, so it was pretty interesting. We decided one of the first things we'd ever do was like train clergy members. And so we put together a clergy breakfast to train clergy members, and we thought, well, we might get 6 or 7. We got 60. So 60 different pastors from around here and clergy members came, and we trained them on suicide prevention. Because what's happening with them is people come in distress with depression, anxiety, suicide, even mental illness and that sort of thing. And the clergy members, they're trained to be good listeners and all that kind of stuff, but they're not necessarily trained in mental health. And so they were very interested in being able to know, how to handle somebody that's in a crisis, mental health crisis, and how to make referrals and who to make referrals to. So it's been a really gratifying experience working with the clergy. We do school trainings. We go out to the schools. We debrief with the schools. We do consultation, and we do postvention. So one of the things here, and you can't probably read it, but it says postvention response. One of the things that we found is that when there is a suicide, there's a response. And sometimes with kids, for instance, they'll want to end their life the same way their friend ended their life. So if a friend jumps off a bridge, next thing you know, you got 3 or 4 kids jumping off a bridge. If a kid walks in front of a train, and you know this, you read the papers, the next thing you know, there's 3 or 4 people that jump in front of a train. So what we're trying to do is get really fast, make sure that the reporting is sensitive, but also get really fast onto the school sites, do that postvention, sit down with the school counselors, sit down with students that may have been affected by a suicide, get them talking, and make sure we get all that information out. We have the community has a whole response plan now. Whenever there's a suicide, we already know what happens. We know what to do. For instance, when the suicide was at the Heart, you probably know about the young lady. She was like 18, and she was on the softball team. She was a high-functioning kid, doing great, and she shot herself with her father's revolver. It was tragic. It was terrible. Everybody was affected. It was just like this ripple effect, as you can imagine. But Kathy Hunter, the Heart School administrator, was calling all therapists, But it was calling Jean, calling me, calling everybody that she knew that was on this committee. And that day at the Heart small gym, there was like 24 therapists. Bam, we were all there. And we met with the softball team. We met with the principal. We met with some of the faculty. We met with a lot of the students that just walked in. So we did the same thing last week at the Oak Tree Gun Club. That was when I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing with Oak Tree next. So this is the kind of stuff we showed up and trained sheriff. We worked with sheriff, give us statistics every month on what kind of progress we're making. We work with the MET team. As you may know, there's now a mental health evaluation unit that's connected with the sheriff. So when there is a serious mental health issue, the MET team can come out and evaluate. So instead of somebody with schizophrenia or a serious mental health issue, instead of them being shot or jailed or whatever happens when somebody with serious mental illness, the MET team can come out and sensitively evaluate and hopefully get them in the hospital if that's what's needed. So we work really close with the MET team. We work really closely with one of the outgrowths of what we've done is a human trafficking committee, because we know people that are involved with human trafficking are more likely to kill themselves. And that's a whole nother, seminar. But we work really closely with the Human Trafficking Committee that sort of was an outgrowth of this. We've had several mental health seminars and summits. We do the media awareness, as I said. We have a resource list. I send it to Al, our resource list, so he can send it to you. It's a digital resource list, so you will have, links that you can link onto, and you'll have the numbers of anybody that might need mental health services. We've improved the transition to high school, working with high school transition, kids that may have mental health issues. We can get them into the college, and we already know who they are if they have permission from their parents. We sort of will know if they have mental health problems so they can succeed in college. We've done coping strategies. For instance, we train elementary school parents. So the kids that are coming from 6th grade, going into junior high school, those kids are more likely to get teased and bullied and all the things. You remember junior high? But what happens is they don't have coping strategies, so they end up with drugs or human trafficking or gangs or terrible relationships, domestic violence, depression, that sort of thing. So we teach parents coping mechanisms so they can teach their kids how to cope with kinds of the stresses that come into middle school. We started a RISE foster and foster youth committee, and we did senior mental health. So we really focused on senior mental health after a while, and we have these statistics. So what happened was, with the senior statistics, because we really started off with transition age youth, that means 16 to 25-year-olds, and we noticed it was a huge problem in our city, as you probably have read and know. There was like 11 suicides a year of transition age youth, so we really focused all of our efforts on that. And we went from 11 suicides a year to 4. So there's still 4, not good, but it was a big impact. But at the same time, our sheriff statistics show that the level, the suicide rate of seniors was rising, like kind of at an alarming rate. So we brought in people like Gene and other people that work with seniors, like Sunrise, the Senior Center, Comfort Keepers, anybody we could think of that works with seniors. So we started doing, brainstorming, well, what's going on here? What are some of the factors? What are the risk factors? What's going on? And so we started doing a series of trainings at the Senior Center, at Sunrise, in different places, teaching gatekeepers, people who work with seniors, on what are some of the issues, what are some of the risk factors. And we sort of learned, I had to learn myself because it wasn't my specialty at all, but Gene, and other people do have that expertise, and we started looking at, okay, there's medical issues, loss of spouse, loss of jobs, loss of purpose, all kinds of things that were risk factors, and we learned things like, depression in seniors is not normal. Seniors can get depressed, but it's not necessarily normal to be depressed as a senior. So we learned a lot, and we made a big impact, so that curve started going down, and the statistics are showing that if you target a certain population and you get the whole community involved, you can really make an impact. So last year we went from 30 suicides a year, and this year was like, it was 33, this year is 23. So we knocked it out by 10. That's why the population is still growing. So we know that we can do this as a community if we sort of know what to do. And this is one of the things I learned, these are senior suicide is an issue. Senior depression is an issue. Senior mental health is an issue. And so this one says, I really don't want to go on without him. So you can get in this state, So the subcommittees is kind of what maybe piqued Al's interest, because we invited him to our subcommittee, and what we realized with the sheriff's statistics was that the most common method of suicide is firearms, and especially with men. And so we decided to really go after the issue of firearms and suicide. And we weren't the first one. I went to a seminar, a big, huge conference. I talked at a bigger conference on the American Association of Suicidology. I was a guest speaker. And when I wasn't speaking, I went and looked at some of the other seminars. And one of the seminars was, what do you do about suicide and firearms? And how can you as a community get together on this issue when it's political dynamite? The seminars taught me that it's not about gun control, it's about suicide and firearms, So we can get together with people that, on one side, and come on one side, the other side, but we can agree that suicide and firearms is an issue. So we called up Oak Tree Gun Club, and I was kind of like, I had a friend that called a friend, and Oak Tree Gun Club has been super supportive of the issue of how to address the issue of suicide and firearms. So, but means reduction is not just firearms, but it's also pharmaceuticals, because girls and women kill themselves more often with pharmaceuticals, as does seniors. We know that seniors sometimes will gather their medication, then they'll take it when they've got a full dose. A lot of times we don't even know how many times seniors actually take their life because they may pass away in their sleep or whatever, and it just looks like, wow. So we don't really know the total statistics, and Gene can talk to you more about that, being an expert in that area. But we're looking at this. We're looking at bridges. If you notice, the Golden Valley Bridge is a great bridge for suicide prevention. They got a really strong screen there. But there's other bridges that aren't so great. And railways. We noticed that one of the clusters of railways was down by Rainbow Glen. It's very accessible. Kids were walking right in front of it and taking their life. We also have a video committee where we're making a movie on warning signs and resources and target populations. And this kind of came from, well, what can we do to get the word out more instead of, in addition to things like tonight, get the word out. There's a lot of issues around suicide and depression and that sort of thing. And one of the things we noticed was that an important population is people that have attempted suicide and survived. These are really, we can get a lot of information from them, and they're their own kind of population, and some of them are very good at speaking and talking about what got them to that point and what are some of the ambivalence that goes into that. But also the community of people who survive suicide, families. So we're going to we're making that thing, and one of the people donated a whole bunch of money to get it started. So we're going for it. So just to focus a little bit on the firearms committee, because that's kind of where this is coming from. This is one of the things that New Hampshire put out. So this is like a poster for suicide prevention that we want every gun shop and every firing range to put at their poster, so put in their fire range. And Oak Tree Gun Club has agreed to do this and to encourage other gun shops and fire ranges to do it. So basically it says, concerned about a family or friend, here are the numbers, hold on to their guns, know what the warning signs, and know what to ask. It's not like taking your gun away. It's not about, hey, we don't want you to have a gun. It's about, hey, are you feeling suicidal? Because we know with people with firearms, it's a very deadly act. And but we know the people that are suicidal, if we can just put some time between the time where they're impulsively wanting to go to the gun and feeling better, we know that it does. Sometimes it just takes a few hours, sometimes a few days. So it's not about taking guns away. It's about increasing the time between when they're feeling really bad and they have access to a firearm. So these are some of the things that we did. We're putting posters up. These are all the initiatives that we started. We've just been doing this about 5 months now. Putting posters at gun range, doing a voluntary firearms relinquishment program so that if you or a family member feel like you might be suicidal, to relinquish your guns to the Oak Tree Gun Club, because people don't necessarily want to give their guns to the sheriff, but they would give them to Oak Tree Gun Club. Oak Tree has the licenses and everything to be able to hold on to the guns. When the person comes back, they can have them. Or if they're 5150, they're in the hospital, they can't have a gun. So the Oak Tree Gun Club has said, okay, we'll sell those guns at a fair market price, at a good price, and then we'll give you the funds. So instead of it being, hey, what do I do with my guns? I've been in the hospital. So they're willing to do that. There's a few bumps in the road in terms of state and federal laws about giving a gun to somebody that didn't buy it. But we're working on that with the sheriff and with lawyers. We're going to be, and we've already started training gun club staff on suicide prevention, knowing what the warning signs. They're putting suicide prevention info in the box or the package of every gun they sell, which is, to me, amazing. They've donated $2,000 to the cause so we can make really cool posters and stuff. We've got a liaison now with the NRA and with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is, an amazing, amazing thing, because the NRA, as you probably know, is pretty pro-gun, and so they're kind of cautious about this sort of thing, but they're not really cautious about suicide prevention and firearms. So we're working towards putting those pieces together. We're adding suicide prevention information to all our gun safety trainings, which is a new thing. We have I didn't put it on here, but we're going to do a major event it'll be in the Season magazines. Bob Keller in the city is really gung-ho about doing a training to families who have firearms in their home, adding suicide prevention to their safety training. We're bringing other shops into the conversation, and we're connecting with state and national publications. So to me, it's like in 3 or 4 months, since we started in November, for this to all happen this quickly is amazing. But at the same time, we were down there at our meeting at 1 o'clock on Thursday night, and you probably heard somebody ended their life with a firearm Thursday night. Now, we don't know if it was accidental, if she did it on purpose, but nevertheless, we were down there. So we're looking at each other going, isn't this like really pretty tragic? So, but we were there, and we were able to work with their staff, because these kinds of things that really affect their staff. I mean, it's a terrible thing that happens. And the staff and the staff's family, not to mention the person and the person's family, there's this ripple effect. So we want to get on that really fast to make sure that they get the kind of support they need. So when I talk about depression and suicide, I often will have pictures of sad people and depressed people, but I've been told you should have some happy people. Because people do recover from depression. People do get better. We know that. We used to think, hey, you had depression, you're not going to get better. But we know people do get better, that people recover, and with counseling and self-help strategies, people can get well. So this is my picture of a well-looking person. So we do these trainings. They call suicide prevention, intervention, and response training. And I'm going to give you a real quick lesson. Usually this takes like an hour and a half. We also have an 8-hour training on mental health first aid if you really want to get really into this sort of thing. We do it like several times, like once a semester, or as requested by groups. But this is called the Spirit Train. It's become kind of well known across the county, across the country. We actually made it up here ourselves at the Canyon Country, at the College of the Canyons. So we look at what's going on, including trauma, sexual abuse, sexual assault, military sexual assault. If you don't know, military sexual assault is very common. There's more men that are military sexually assaulted than women, but there's more men in the service. But PTSD, these are issues, major mental illness, anxiety, depression, life events, family stress, economic stress. We're really looking at this relationships issue, because we know that young people will kill themselves because of relationships. So we used to say, there's more fish in the sea, don't worry about it. But people kill themselves because of relationships. So we really pay attention. If somebody comes to us and say, hey, I'm having trouble with my relationship, we don't just put that aside anymore. We have eating disorders and autism spectrum. We have like 200 or 300 autism kids on the spectrum at the College of the Canyons. And those kids often will kill themselves when they get to a point of frustration and isolation. Reentry, military abuse, military service. We have, obviously the substance abuse is an important issue. Hey there he is, the man of the year. Did you win? It's coming. We'll vote for you. Holiday blues, to remember that holidays are not happy for everybody. People have had tragedies and had terrible times with families. So for us, your holiday might be really happy, but it's not happy for everybody. So we try to keep that in town. And it's any combination of the above. And we also know that people that are LGBTQ, if they're lesbian, gay, trans, bisexual, they're more likely to kill themselves. They're more likely to be bullied. And but we know when we do safe zones and we make it safe to be LGBTQ, the straight male suicide population drops by 50% in schools. So that's a pretty stunning statistic, but it's true. And we also know that all suicides drop by 9% if we make it safe. So the idea is if you make it safe to be LGBTQ, you make it safe for everybody. Doesn't matter, race, color, creed, that sort of thing. So a little bit on, well, I'm missing a whole slide here. Wow, okay. Wow, lost everything. Uh-oh. What happened? Okay, so I'm gonna do warning signs for memory. So, but I'll give you this picture. So this is kind of what when we look at transition age youth. They might be the cheerleader, they might be the football player, they might be the prettiest girl in class, but they get A's and straight A's, but they still get in this situation where no one really appreciates all I do and what I've been through. And so we want to really be sensitive to what's going on with students. So when we talk about risk assessment, we looked at men kill themselves more than women. Women attempt it more. We're looking for people that have a previous suicide attempt, or people whose family members have taken their life earlier. Obviously, people that are under substance abuse more. And people that say they're suicidal, if you say you're suicidal, you're thinking about killing yourself, that's a really high risk factor. If they have an organized plan to kill themselves, that's number one, right? So the main three is I'm thinking of taking my life, thinking of ending my life, I'm feeling hopeless, and I have an organized plan. For instance, if Gene comes to me and says, hey, I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow, I ask, can I use you, Gene? He says, I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow. I go, hey, Gene, that's great. You're going to Hawaii tomorrow. You got your ticket? No. Well, did you get your rental car? No. Did you tell your practice that you won't be? No, it's Hawaii sounds great. Okay, he's thinking about Hawaii. All right. Gene comes to me and says, hey, I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow. You got your ticket? Yeah, got my ticket. You got your rental car? Yeah. Your practice is all set? Yeah. Dog's taken care of? Yeah. Everything's set. He's going to Hawaii, right? He's got this hotel. He's got his tickets. Dogs are taken care of. He's got his rental car. Gene's going to Hawaii tomorrow, right? Organized plan. Somebody comes to you and says, I'm thinking of ending my life. Really? How would you do that? I would jump off the Empire State Building. Okay. That's a long way away. We're in California. Okay? So you're thinking about it. I get it. But it's not a very organized plan. I'm taking you seriously, let's talk. Okay? When somebody says, hey, I'm thinking of ending my life, how would you do that? With a firearm? Oh, yeah? You got one of those? Yeah, where is it? It's my dad's closet. Where in your closet? It's on the top shelf. Okay. Do you have access to ammunition? Yeah. Where is that? It's under the bed. Okay. When are you going to do that? Tonight? Anybody home tonight? No. It's going to be, because that's when I'm going to do it, because it's tonight. Okay, this is a really serious situation. This is the most serious situation you can get. Firearm, male, firearm. Have you ever tried it before? Yeah, I tried it before. I tried to hang myself, but the belt broke. Okay, anyone in your family ever done that? Yeah, my father did. Okay, he's hitting every single marker, I don't have all the markers up there. These are all. But this is a very serious situation. It's an organized plan. They have means to do it, and there's a specific time. This is somebody you can't leave alone. This is like the girl who's walking down the street and car hits her. You just can't go. I don't care how much you have to get to work. We really want you to stay with that person and get that person some help. That makes sense? So organized plan is really important. Warning sign. So we had this seminar. How much time do I got? I'm getting close here. 5 minutes. Okay. So the other day we had this guy come to our college. This is a guy. His name is Kevin, and this guy's name is Kevin too. He was feeling suicidal. He went to the Golden Gate Bridge. We had both these guys at the same time. He says, I'm going to kill myself. I don't have time to tell you his whole story, but he says, I'm going to kill myself if nobody says, how you doing? So he walks 3 miles to the bridge. Nobody says, how you doing? Well, it's just this guy walking to the bridge, you know. He jumps over the bridge, grabs the side, and now he's right here. So he's right here on the side of the bridge like this. All he has to do is let go. Okay? This guy comes along. His name's Kevin Briggs. He's a highway patrol, and he just stands there. He goes, hey, how's it going? I'm here. And for half an hour, this guy stared down at those boots. Didn't say anything. And then this guy started asking, well, what's going on? I'm a therapist all the time. After I give limits of confidentiality, my first line is, so what's going on? So he says, what's going on? And he tells him his life story, why he's there. Another hour. So this is 90 minutes. He's like that. All the traffic stopped. All the newspapers are watching this guy. He's sitting there right there. But he's just, all he can think about is just letting go. And finally, the sheriff goes, the patrolman says, well, would you like to be at your daughter's birthday in a couple of weeks? He goes, yeah, I guess I would. And came over. Listening non-judgmentally, just what's going on. Not being judgmental. No, that's stupid. You shouldn't do that. No, listening non-judgmentally can be life or death, you know. So just being there, assessing the situation, and listening non-judgmentally. So this is kind of weird because my cool slideshow's not working. But what we try to teach is 5 things that you can do to prevent suicide. You go and assess. You can say, hey, are you thinking of ending your life? We don't say commit anymore because you commit sins and you commit crimes. We say, are you thinking of ending your life? And that's a myth that says if you put that in somebody's mind, that they're gonna think about it. No, they've been thinking about it. They've been dropping all kinds of warning signs about what's going on. But you might be the first one that asked, hey, are you thinking of ending your life? Like, thank you. I just told 30 people. Well, you didn't really tell 30 people. You just dropped a bunch of warning signs. So you ask, you know, yes, I'm thinking about ending my life. Or no, I'm not, but I'm really feeling blue. Okay. Second thing is L, listen. Listen non-judgmentally, you know. Don't be sarcastic. Don't be cynical. Don't be off-putting. Don't say, oh, you know, she wasn't any good for you anyway. You know, it's like, no, listen non-judgmentally. You know, you just want them to talk. You want them to talk about what's going on. The third one is give reassurance. We know people can recover from mental health problems. We know people can recover from depression, PTSD, whatever it is. So giving them that hope, because remember, hope is one of the primary symptoms of depression and suicide. So give them hope, give them information, learn about mental health. First E is encourage professional help. That's me. It's really easy on college because we have this whole mental health team on the college. It's not so easy to access. So hopefully Al will send you all the resources. I don't know if you got my email with all the resources, so you can send it. So encourage professional help. And the last one is encourage self-help strategies. So that's exercise. Guys like this, come to a meeting, get involved. You know, go to church. Go to temple, go to ashram, what do you do? Talk to your friends, go to AA, go to NAMI. There's all kinds of self-help strategies that people can get involved in. So what we're trying to do here is, you know, as an individual, you're trying to push the help towards the person. And as a community, we're trying to push the person towards, together we can really make an impact on suicide. So these are other resources, and Al's got the list. This is what we do every year. This is 1,100 college students each year kill themselves across the country. So every year we put this out. We give a piece of pizza to anybody that puts the Suicide Lifeline in their phone, and we have that kind of information for you here. We have training suicide. Here's me. We want you to put this number in your cell phone. It's a Suicide Lifeline because you never know where you're going to be. 2 o'clock in the morning, you're with somebody that's feeling suicidal, there's a number you can call. Teenagers really like this crisis text line, so I got cards for that too. Half hour. Questions?
I'm out here with the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And you know what? The high school is horrible with people with drugs and everything.
Yeah, drugs are an issue,
They
for
should
sure.
get your company over there and talk to these kids.
Yeah, drugs, we
I
know.
took my daughter out of there
Okay,
2 years ago. She's got higher marks, homeschooled. 5 other girls quit. Marks, good. And it's really bad. And I see a lot.
yeah. I mean, you never know. All 3 of my kids went through Canyon High School.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a private high school for them. They're all in AP classes. They're all, one's a medical doctor, one's a social worker, and the other's
It's really
getting his MBA at USC. So it's not just school, I don't think. School can be a hazard, if there's other things going on. What we're trying to get at is those other things that are going on that people use so they use drugs to cope with their stresses.
Yeah, because we have stuff for the church and stuff. They put stuff out and stuff and talk to the kids that are in U-turn buildings and stuff. But the thing is, like the Sheriff's Department, my granddaughter is on the Sheriff's Department for 911 calls. And you know what? They got flyers that we pass out to these kids to drive in. And I have a ball with it. I pull outside them and I said, put your window down. And she says, what do you want? I said, you're texting. And she said, and stuff, so I scared him.
Yeah.
But you know what? What about, all these other kids and stuff that, I know one cop that just came home with a gun, put it on a table, and the kid grabbed it and killed herself.
Yeah.
And are you going to have a flyer to fly out? Maybe the kids go to the schools or something?
We put posters on the walls at the schools. We have trainings for the schools. We train teachers. I've trained administrators in mental health first aid.
So you have a lot of ministers come to your meetings?
Yeah, we have.
I didn't hear nothing about it at our church. I'll ask our minister.
Well, Grace Church is really good. Real Life Church is really good. I mean, all the churches are good, but some of the churches are better with the issue of mental health.
Well, they got other issues going on now too, with people coming and robbing the money for the connections and everything. So we got
that's another whole problem.
At our house
that's another whole problem.
They go to our church and they're sitting there with guns.
Yeah, so we're trying to focus on mental health and mental health issues that lead to these problems, but the mental health and firearms is kind of our newest
So many things.
issue.
My daughter and son-in-law, her husband was in Vegas with that last shooting, and boy, it was heck. And then the one guy was with them was a relative, and he lifted people over the walls and firemen and stuff, saved their lives. Then one guy comes up and he says, "Why you quit?" He says, "Man, my back is hurt now. Get your big butt over there and you start lifting some of these people." So
Wow.
they can criticize people, but you know what? It's when they tell them to do it, it's hard. But that's good that they're going after the high schools out there.
Yeah.
But they are bad.
What exactly is the name of your group and who sponsors you and how does
So we're the
organize?
we call ourselves the Santa Clarita Valley Committee on Suicide Prevention, Postvention, and Wellness. I work for the college, so we staged it at the college. We were originally a subcommittee of the Blue Ribbon Task Force, because I chaired the Blue Ribbon Task Force for a couple of years and attended for like 15 years. And the mental health issue became, a subcommittee of the Blue Ribbon Task Force that really focused on problems with transition age youth.
So it's a lot of volunteers.
Pardon me? It's all volunteers.
All volunteers.
It's all volunteers, no money. Everybody that comes just because they want to. Several of the people that come are paid to come. They're paid while they're there, but
And you're an employee of the college?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I coordinate the mental health services at the college. Yeah.
Nice presentation.
Thank you. Anybody's welcome to come to the committee if they want. Yeah. Question back there? My name's Larry Schallert. Yes, I've got all kinds of stuff up here I can give you, and I really want you to have some of this material that with warning signs and phone numbers. Spelling is SCHALLERT. Larry. Yeah. Oh, there it is, right there. You have a question there?
Well, it's a question and a statement. I went to the event, the Kevin and Kevin, with the gentleman who was on the bridge, and that was probably one of the most moving experiences I've had in Santa Clarita. That was tremendously emotional, and I appreciate that. Plus, the involvement of Oak Tree Gun Club and what we're doing now is we're hoping that will lead long-term changes with even gun laws that are going on. So we're going to see how that goes. One thing that Larry did not mention was that 2 years ago, I think it was, 3 students at college at the Canyons committed suicide.
Right.
And last year it was 0.
Right.
And this is I want to give Larry Schallert kudos for what he's done. Brought me on board for the seniors, brought Al on board, city council on board, a lot of people on board. But if it weren't for Larry Schallert doing this, I think this would never have happened in our community, and I thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, but it really is a community effort. It takes us all. Thanks.